Hi everyone and welcome back to the Weekly Phoenix. This week I'm joined by Mr. Jannie van Rooyen and Dave de Berg. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Hello.
How was your week? Jannie, you told me off camera you've had a house full of sick family.
Yeah, but then more better than around sick.
How about yourself, Dave?
The week has been alright. It was a bit quiet work-wise, but picked up towards the end. And last night was cool. Friday was a bit boring, but last night I had a good night, and it's been good so far. So no complaints.
Excellent. I want to chat a little bit about an article that was in the News 24. An extract that they took from Decayer, which is essentially a Christian booklet, and they touched on the topic of the occult unit in the South African police force. Now we've chatted about this a little bit, and just saying that we weren't even aware that there was still a occult unit being deployed, and it's. I think about last time I heard was back in the 70s, and rumor had it that it was disbanded, and for some odd reason. So now it seems like they are still active, and they've shed a little bit of light on certain cases, some very brutal murder cases, having links to the occult. Which is, I think, a very interesting topic to touch upon. And that's why I had you two gentlemen on the show today. What is your understanding about the occult unit? What is their function? Let's start with you, Jannie.
Okay, I think they'll go into investigations, or the detectives will look at the scene, but like we know, South Africa has a lot of brutal murders. I don't think everything is occult related, because South Africa got a very violent culture. So I think you must be on the scene itself to see if there was any signs of occult, like signs like burning candles, like the pentagram they used to make. Because personally, I think the occult murder, they won't be open like that to let everyone know it's occult murder. Because I think people in the court are actually smart people that are, ek gaan Afrikaans praat. Hulle is slim mense en geleerde mense. Hulle gaan nie net hulle self weggee occult, maar dan gaan die clues los om dit self te laat vang. Dit maak nie van nie.
All right. Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's a big, how can I put it, like an excitement factor about this whole thing. South Africa has been, since the lifting of sanctions and apartheid being dismantled, there's been a lot of stuff from, like America, for example, shows and movies and stuff that we've been allowed to see, that we've grown up with, like since the late 80s and the 90s, that I think has influenced a lot of people and led them to believe certain things. So I kind of understand that the occult unit in the police can exist. That definitely makes sense for me. I mean, amongst just for example, our black cultures, some of them have got there are a lot of practices that we consider to be strange or weird or unchristian or whatever name or term you want to call it. And these practices have been in those cultures for thousands of years. So they've changed over time, sure, probably. But the core, practices have been there. So I think that there will be some other kind of business or money or financial connection. And that is why the government probably instituted the occult crimes unit. Unfortunately, our government is pretty corrupt, and they wouldn't really involve themselves in something if there wasn't some type of gain, I don't think. So I think there is, I do believe that the unit exists, but I also think that it's not only about the occult. I think there's a lot of other stuff going on that's connected to that unit. And that helps, of course, with, as was stated in the article, the secrecy that this unit works under. So, yeah, I think it's very interesting, to put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I think my understanding of it is that this unit exists to monitor certain cults who are, how can we say, associated with violent crimes. Sort of unraveling a network, if you will. And I think, yeah, secrecy is probably of the highest order because they need to remain unseen to track down these people who do these heinous things. And I like you said, Dave, I don't necessarily believe it's only, for the argument's sake, satanic, but also, like you say, it's to do with more witchcraft. Which brings me to the next thing that actually, sort of caught my attention about this article, and the fact that some of these sites that they investigate have very strange paranormal connotations. Like, for instance, the one crime scene, there's no animals in the vicinity because
I also read that. That's also very strange. Yeah.
That the activity is so palpable that no living thing comes near the surrounding area, and they talk specifically about hexes being put on people, like witchcraft. It seems like it's still a very powerful tool that can be used today to get some sort of selfish gain. What are your thoughts on hexes and stuff? Do you believe it still exists?
I think for sure, yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole thing with hexes and curses is they are as powerful as the people who believe in them. It's kind of like a form of faith. If you really believe that you are able to put a hex or a curse on someone, and you know that person believes in hexes or curses, then it sort of like feeds itself, I think, and that makes the hex or the curse even more real. I mean, we can, from day to day, there's stuff that happens day to day in our lives, which is just misfortune. For example, let's say you're picking up your coffee mug, but you're reading something on a screen and you don't pick up the coffee mug properly and you drop it, you break the mug and you spill coffee all over the place. Most people will think, that's an accident. But if you believe in hexes and curses and you believe somebody has put a hex or a curse on you, you're going to think, that's why that happened. So, yeah, it's sort of almost like a catch-22. Like, if you believe in them, then it will have more power over you. If you don't, then you're not going to think it's a hex or a curse. But I do believe that they are being used, and I think they are powerful for people who are sort of like weakened to that state to believe in them. So that's what I think.
But is there like telltale signs that you are being that something is being held over you, like, let's say, for instance, a curse? Yanni, what do you think? Is there certain patterns you can pick up?
I think satanic curses and stuff you won't know. But if you look at some Gormas, the black culture, then you'll know, because they believe they must plant an object in your yard to curse you. So, but patterns, I don't think so, because it's a hidden curse. So don't make it obviously that you curse. It's like Dave said, you believe in it, then stuff will happen to you. If you don't believe in it, it would just be unfortunate things that happen to you.
So there's no actual way to tell.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, I don't think there is. It's we've been a lot of people have been affected by Hollywood, where, for example, you'll see, like in the things that horror movies love doing is they'll have writing that pops up out of, like, underneath someone's skin or something like that, or marks or that kind of thing. So we think we've been almost programmed to believe that there are visible signs and we will be able to see what's going on. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't have the knowledge of these practices, we won't know.
Yeah.
We won't have a clue. We can only suspect. So, yeah.
Another thing that piqued my interest is the fact that it's actually illegal to put a curse on someone. So
I also didn't know about that. That's very interesting.
It's interesting. So I think the effects must be so real that at some point the government decided, listen, we need to put some kind of legislations on people cursing other people. And they say even if it's just in words, if you project something bad on someone, it's that can be seen as a crime to do someone harm.
But they're able to prove it.
Yeah, how do you prove that?
Yeah, let's see.
But considering
now interesting.
that you can't actually detect, so it's a very sneaky method for me to get revenge on someone, and apparently it's quite a common practice. They reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories since when I was in primary school already. Because when I was in primary school, Model C began. So the first black students started going into schools, and my best friend in primary school was a black guy, and he would tell us stories about people going to Sangomas and buying lightning to target somebody who had done something wrong to them. I've grown up with lots of different stories about things that happen in black culture that we sort of just laugh at.
Yeah.
But to them, it's very, very real, and we need to sort of be careful about laughing at stuff like that, because if you don't know what it is and you don't have proper details about it or knowledge, you don't know what you are making fun of. And it's a dangerous kind of game to play. So I've always been very respectful about what I've been told, stories that I've heard, because I don't have the knowledge. I can't prove it either way, so I'm not going to come out and say, it's a bunch of crap, or laugh at it or whatever. We know stories about in certain black cultures, witches use loaves of bread to fly with. And that's like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? So, and to us, it's very weird, but to a lot of people, it's not. To a lot of people, it's very, very real. So there's things we need to be careful about. Just because we don't have the knowledge about it doesn't mean we can sort of make a decision about it and say, it's not real, it's not real. We have to be very careful about it, as with everything in the paranormal world. So,
yes. But going back to the paranormal connotation, just the fact that even when they get to these crime scenes, the SAPD dogs don't even want to go into these specific areas. Why is it, Yanni, that why are animals so sensitive for these kind of things?
I don't know. I wish I did know. But I believe dogs can feel it. Well, see, they see different color spectrum hear different stuff in we hear and stuff. So I sense it somehow. I believe I can feel it.
Yeah.
So
I also think
my
so.
question is, does the investigator, the detective, believe it or not?
Yeah.
Because I think you must have some skill, some belief before you can be in that environment, in that unit, to be able to do this job.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I think, you know, it's if you look at human beings, Dave, I mean, you are a dog lover. I mean, your dog knows your heartbeat. They know the rhythm of your heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
So being so sensitive to that place, what do you think might reside there?
You,
I think I think it would be a combination of different things. For example, we know that dogs have got an amazing sense of smell, and that sense can be enhanced through training. For example, there were dogs, there have been plenty of dogs that have been trained to smell COVID, to smell people who've been infected with COVID. These dogs have been used at airports in America, I think in places like different places in Southeast Asia. There are studies of dogs who can smell Alzheimer's and pick that up in people. There are also studies of we know dogs are like intelligent, but we think their intelligence is like, if we could compare it to a human being, it would be maybe like a 2-year-old child. But we need to understand that it's a different kind of intelligence. It's a different kind of it's more instinctual. So dogs, for example, and even animals, there's been cases where animals have like in masses escaped from an area or removed themselves from an area before an earthquake hits or a volcanic eruption takes place. They sense things before humans can sense them and before human technology can sense them. And that's been documented for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
So it could be a combination of things. I mean, it could be maybe there's a like, I don't know, maybe a very bad odor in the place that is linked to something paranormal, a residue that was left behind, maybe something that sort of like makes the dog back down and go, okay, well, I can't take this thing on. I'm not strong enough to take this thing on, even though I've got these jaws and I've got this power. This thing is different. This thing is not like a person that I can bring to the ground and restrain. So I don't know. It could be a lot of different things. But in cases like that, with those specific cases they were talking about in the article, I think it's definitely something dark that is there. But I think it's residue. I don't think it's something that is still there. Because in a lot of occult sort of cases, or what we think happens is that you call on something or you call something up for a specific purpose. And whatever that thing is completes that purpose for you and takes the price from you, and then it's finished, then it's gone. So it's for a specific purpose that this thing comes, and then it does its thing, and then it leaves.
It doesn't leave.
That's what we understand about. Yeah, it doesn't stay there.
Okay.
So that's what we understand about these things, but we don't have enough. We don't have enough knowledge. We only think about things like that because of like movies and TV series and books, that kind of thing. But I think it would be something dark. It would be a residue. It would be like an echo of something, like a memory of something. And then that dog is just like, okay, well, no, I'm not going in there. I don't want to be in that area.
Yeah. Yanni, but how real is it then? How real is what the occult unit is dealing with? Considering the fact that even the dogs, are highly trained canines with enhanced sense of smell, like they've said, They've been trained killers, and even they do not want to enter those premises. How real is this evil?
It must be real, like Dave said. We don't know what's left behind. It can be energy. Like I believe energy don't die. It carries on forever. So that energy can be there, not the spirit itself, whatever, but the energy, odor, anything. But yeah, talking about it's hard. We must be there as a paranormal investigator to see the scene, feel the energy, understand more what's happening, why the dog is maybe reacting like it is. We like dogs. We sniff out the paranormal, but the ghosts, we actually like human dogs. We go after stuff.
Yeah.
But it's very different. Is this kind of energy that we're talking about, the residue, as you say, it's obviously tainted the patch of earth where this took place. Have any of you two, have you ever experienced something of that magnitude?
I don't think of a place right now. But I think, remember blood. Blood is your life force. And if blood was spilled, some life force is left behind. So there must be some kind of energy, like at the silent, like a suicide. Something drove him to that. And his blood was spilled there. So there must be an energy, a negative energy left there, because his blood soaked into the earth. So, yeah, but there must stay some residue, some energy behind. But we can't see it, we can't smell it, we can't hear it. Dogs only can.
Yeah, I've it's like I've said to a couple of you guys through the years with investigating, we get, I think we become like sort of attuned to the feeling of a place, and every single one of us in Phoenix has had this thing happen to us where we walk into an area or a room and you immediately feel that something is wrong. Like immediately, you know there's something wrong, and you want to run. You want to because something is telling you, like it's like an instinct deep in your brain saying, this is a dangerous place and you need to leave, and you're fighting your body. So I think there's a lot of things that we sort of like as human beings we forget. For example, our brains are constantly taking in information, even while we're sleeping. Our brains don't stop taking in information. While we're sleeping, we're still hearing things, we're listening to things. We're smelling things. We're sleeping, so it's an unconscious process. And I think there's a lot of things about our senses that we don't understand. For example, it's a funny, interesting thing, but if you're in a crowd, you can feel when someone is watching you.
Yeah.
You feel eyes on you. And if you look around, you can normally find the person who's looking at you. Your back could be turned, and you still feel that there's somebody looking at you. In our case, with what we do, is the things that are looking at us aren't really visible in the way that we would like them to be visible, but they're still there, and our bodies pick them up. So I've had a lot of experiences where I walk into a room. I like doing the isolation sessions. So then I'll walk into a room and then everything feels okay, and suddenly the atmosphere just changes. So I definitely think that there's something. Sometimes it could be a residue. Other times it could be something that comes into that space where I am. But you definitely feel it as a human being. We feel it much easier because we sort of used to it, and we dialed into that experience. But I think a lot of people are they dismiss it. They, maybe they get goose flesh and then they change their minds, or they think about something else, or they walk out or whatever. we kind of like more trained to feel that. So there's been a lot of cases where I felt like very weird, very negative stuff in a place, and I think a lot of people can do that. I think it's a very real thing. Yeah.
Why do you guys think violent crime is accompanied with an occult? Do you guys believe it's just a stigma, or why is it required to do these heinous crimes for a occult? Yanni?
No, I think it's a stigma.
But why do they
people
use?
just violent by nature?
Sorry, say again.
It's people just violent by nature. It's not always a cult that's causing to be violent, stuff like that.
But is it ritualistic? Do you think are these violent crimes part of a ritual?
Yeah, I think if you look at serial killers, they got to their calling note. So it's a ritual for them, but it's not a cult ritual. They create their own rituals. It's a calling card.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think with these kinds of things, it's I think there definitely will be cases where a ritual needs something to happen, and if it's something violent that happens, then maybe that's part of the specific ritual. But I think there are a lot more rituals that take place that are non-violent, and they don't get picked up on, they don't get investigated because no crime has been committed.
Yes.
It's only when a crime is committed that, we need to investigate this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like in the article, the brigadier or whatever of the unit was talking about the young woman who gave birth to stones, and that's not a crime. I mean, how do you prosecute that as a crime? It's not a crime. It's weird. It's very, very weird.
Yeah.
But it's not a crime. And I think the only reason why they might have heard about that and went to investigate it is because of she was giving birth to stones.
Yeah.
But there was nothing violent about it. There were no crimes committed. So I think there's a lot more rituals that take place, occult rituals for whatever groups that do them, that no one knows about. And I mean, these things probably take place inside people's homes, or where they feel that they are safe, that they can practice their beliefs. And it's only the stuff that might become violent or that might include violence that gets attention, which makes sense because then they're committing crimes. But I don't think it's necessary for the rituals. I actually think that when rituals like that take place with violence and like torture, dismemberment, that kind of thing, that I think it's actually people who don't know what they're doing. They actually don't have a clue what they're doing. They think they need to do this and do this and do this because it's what movies and TV series and all kinds of stuff have been showing us for decades. Like the myth of Satanists sacrificing cats. It's a complete myth, but it's something that people believe because this is what we've been hearing for decades and decades and decades. Yes, that does happen to animals, but it's a completely different occult group. Satanists have got very specific beliefs, and I think with any occult, any kind of non-Christian religion. I mean, I know people who believe that Buddhism is an occult, even though it's not, just because it's non-Christian. So, I think there's a lot of knowledge that we don't have, and there's a lot of assumptions that we make when it comes to the occult, and we need to understand these things. We need to do a lot of research and find out what's what, and before we can make assumptions or say this is what it is and this is what they're doing.
from my understanding from the article, it seems like, and I could be wrong, is that the violence comes mostly from people committing the crime and then taking whatever they can harvest off the body to the Sangomas. Now, you can't arrest the Sangomas because they didn't commit the murder. It's just insane. I mean, where do people get the notion that... And it's obviously because of desperation, probably, or, you know, extreme poverty, the wrong information, like we've been discussing. And people doing these things and not having a clear understanding of what they are doing. Why is there so little light shed on this and on the occult? I think it's a very taboo subject, and I think, you know, you need to be very careful what you say about it if we don't have a lot of knowledge about it. But misconceptions can be in the way. We can't throw that out, but it's always associated with something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we've seen lots of horror stories about, you know, even stuff that has got come into the news, Muti murders. You know, there's really bad stuff out there that happens, but we also need to remember that stuff like that doesn't only happen in South Africa. I think there are still cannibalistic cultures, like in the Southeast Asia area, like in Indonesia, Philippines, places like that, New Guinea, for example, where one of the practices for the tribe or a village is that they eat the flesh of their elders, because they believe that they gain the wisdom of their elders and the strength of their elders through the eating of the flesh. This is actually quite funny, but a lot of people who aren't Christians make jokes about the Roman Catholic ritual of eating the body of Christ and drinking the blood of Christ, and they say that's cannibalistic. If in church, I was brought up Roman Catholic. We are literally told you're eating the body of Christ and you're drinking the blood of Christ. To anybody else, that sounds like cannibalism.
Yeah,
but we see it differently. So it's weird, it's strange. It's all about perception.
No, definitely, and I think, you know, they've touching on that. You know, considering where the religions come from, blood is a very powerful symbol in religion. I think we don't use it as literally anymore because we've developed a sense of regard for life and the protection of life. When the Jews were in Egypt, they had to put the blood on the Kusain on the door.
Yes,
to mark them so that the spirit of death would not come into their houses. Those kind of things are powerful. And I think mostly the occult it's a power network. I think it's very more sophisticated than we believe it is now. I think, you know, according to the stigma, I think it's a more, like Yanni said, I think it was Yanni that said that these are sophisticated people, smart, sophisticated people organizing these things, and they commit these crimes over a certain period of time before they get caught out. Yanni, why is there such secrecy around the occult unit? Well, just to give us some perspective from the police's perspective, why would they need to keep it up under wraps?
Because you're gonna you are murdering the occult. Someone waits for my wife to finish it behind me.
Why, jammer?
No worries.
That's why I don't work from home. And I think if they're going to know who you are, you're going to commit a murder because of a cult, and you're a powerful person, of course you're going to take out that person that's going to investigate you. So then there's not going to be able to have the knowledge, the power, the equipment to catch you, to solve a crime. But one must do it in secret.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a very logical answer. I think it's important that something like that remains secret. David, you have some thoughts on that? Dave?
Oh, okay, cool. No, my connection bombed out there for a moment.
Cool. You back. Okay.
Cool. Just remind me what we were talking about.
No, just a specific reason why a unit like this should be kept under wraps.
Yeah. I think a big thing is social media. People, specifically in South Africa, we run with anything, and we believe it's true. For example, even with like COVID stuff, there were how many voice notes that were running around by people who never identified themselves, apparently with insider info about things happening, but they never identify themselves. You can never prove what they say, and they just create this huge panic. And I think with a police unit like the Occult Crimes Unit, if any information about what they do comes out to the general public, they will literally be flooded with stuff that has got no relationship to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Where people, an old lady who maybe lives alone sees 2 black cats in one day, and she'll phone them up and she'll say, hey, you need to come check out my place because something's wrong here. There were 2 black cats here, because of the belief that black cats are evil,
yes,
or bring bad luck. So I think that's a big thing, is the ability to sort of just run with anything these days, and to say anything online without having information, without knowing really what you're talking about, and getting people to believe it. I think that's a big thing. I think that's a big reason why it's so secret, what they do, and that I can completely understand, because they need to sort of control their environment. They need to control what they're getting and what they're doing. And if they get flooded with stuff, then obviously they'll want to investigate things, but the more they have to investigate that actually is useless and is not connected to the occult, the less time they'll have to investigate stuff that is connected to the occult. So I think that's a big thing, is sort of don't let the public go nuts with this, because the public will go nuts. They will send us on wild goose chases that have got nothing to do with what we're actually doing.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the things about the secrecy.
Another thing that stood out for me is that they obviously experience things when they get to these crime scenes. And what I wanted to know from you guys, do you think that someone who is possessed, because regardless if someone is part of a cult committing a crime or just murdering someone, the case is treated the same when it comes to the prosecution. Can someone be blamed for murder or being possessed? Do you think it's viable? Do you think that's even remotely even a case then? No.
Because of the belief system. People will use it as a scapegoat. I was possessed.
And there's no real way to prove it.
It has to, I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. It's, I mean, even with the exorcism rituals that the Catholic Church does, The Vatican has got very, very, very specific stipulations. Before any priest who is trained as an exorcist can perform an exorcism, they have to sort of like make a very, very, very good case and prove certain things with evidence before the Vatican will say, okay, we authorize this exorcism. I've known a couple of people. This is going to sound funny, but I've known a couple of people who, when they have a bit to drink, they sort of like become different people, and that's just alcohol, you know. People react differently in different situations. People show different sides of themselves, and in a sort of like a very, very high risk, tense situation like a murder being committed. Sometimes your mind, for example, let's say it was in self-defense, but the evidence at the scene and reports from people who are maybe eyewitnesses don't corroborate your story. And you, having done what you did, sort of like your mind pushes back at you, and it takes away the memories of what you did to protect you. The human mind does things like that with major trauma situations. It can completely shut off your memories so that you don't remember certain things because it's trying to protect you. You're trying to protect yourself. So, a simple example, but in a case like that, if there was anything religious, for example, at that scene, symbolism or marks on the walls or anything that was like a little bit strange, then somebody could say, hey, we think maybe that guy was possessed. He can't remember what he did. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Wynand, it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to prove something like that. And yeah, no, even like I said, the Vatican Church is very, very, very hectic about exorcism cases. It has to, they actually like cancel more exorcisms than allow because it's very, very intense. They need proper information. They do psychological evaluations, all of that stuff. So it is very, very difficult to prove. Yeah.
Now, I think things coming to mind now to me is when you look at it that way. I think human beings are sort of made soft of the fact, crying wolf, and how many of these people are overlooked that actually should be getting exorcisms and stuff like that. All right, so it's the last thing I just quickly want to talk about is, given the existence of an anti-cult unit, they obviously deal with the paranormal. Can we then say that there's no doubt that the paranormal exists? Because even the police have set up a unit. Obviously, it's more focused on controlling or monitoring the occult, but there is a little bit of a paranormal aspect to it. Not that they don't. What's the word I'm looking for? They don't consider that when they investigate the crime, but there's definite elements of the paranormal. What do you think, Yanni?
Definitely. I think they go like we do. First check if there's a normal explanation for it. If they can't explain it, then they only move to the paranormal. Like some gourmets use paranormal stuff, they will let their followers or their clients do violent stuff for them, but that's not paranormal yet. So it's a tricky question, actually.
Yeah, it's
because they use that body parts they get to do paranormal stuff. The murder itself is not paranormal.
Yes.
So there is.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think there's what I picked up from the article from what the brigadier of the unit was saying. He was also basically saying like the same thing, is that like he was basically saying there is a possibility that it could be evil, and by that he means paranormal. He means supernatural. He means that's what he's saying. He says there is a possibility that it could be that. So they need to be prepared for that. I don't think that they are actually prepared, because you can't really train for what we do. There's no course. There's no bachelor of paranormal investigation. There isn't something like that. And these guys in the police have had very specific police training for their procedures, for collecting evidence, for how to talk to witnesses, that kind of stuff. Their training is very, very, very specific, which would help them in these investigations, because occult stuff is usually a ritual. It's there's like we've read in the article that there's that place where animals don't go at all, where the police dogs won't go in. Human beings they'll remark on that and they'll be like, okay, that's weird, but they'll go in. And I don't think that they are actually trained or have the proper knowledge about how to deal with that stuff. So they might even miss something completely. They might think, yes, this what I'm feeling now in this room is because of the gruesomeness of the murder that happened. And it could actually be something that is still there. It could be a presence, it could be a residue. I just don't think that they have the proper knowledge, and I think their beliefs are very, very specific. Specific in terms of sort of like that ways that they were brought up and how they bring what they believe into their work. Where we know constantly with every investigation, we're learning something new every single time. It's a constantly evolving field. I think with them, they rely on their police work and on how they're supposed to do their work. And if something falls outside of that, then maybe they don't really know how to deal with it. Occult stuff, like I said, is ritualistic. There's physical evidence, there's physical stuff happening that you can see and touch, and that helps with their police work. They can perform police work on that. They can take, they can try and get fingerprints from stuff. They can analyze substances. They can do that kind of thing. But if there's a presence at an occult murder scene, if something is still there, I don't think that they will even know how to deal with that. It's not to say that there maybe isn't something there. It's just like, the paranormal is the paranormal, and they might not know how to deal with it. Not the way that we would.
Yeah. Okay, so we will be putting the link to the specific article that we are commenting on. Will be in the link below. Please let us know what your comments are. And just out of the hat, it's just obviously our opinion. We're not experts on this at all, but I think it was very interesting to discuss this. Gentlemen, we've got some personal questions I want to shoot your way. A little bit off of the topic. Yanni, what is your favorite horror movie?
I like zombies.
You like zombies? Okay, what's your favorite zombie?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Awesome.
That was actually a very good movie. It's where they get stuck in the mall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's an awesome movie. How about you, Dave?
Yes, I've got. There's two that stand out for me. The first one I watched when I was 16, and that was The Exorcist.
Okay.
Like I told you guys, I've brought up Roman Catholic, and that movie hit me so hard. I slept with my light on for a week. I had my Bible next to me. But you see, the thing is with Catholics, we are brought up with the certainty that they are angels and demons. So to see what was happening in that movie with how I've been brought up was like, wow, okay, is that what a demon can do? And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying, and it's a brilliant, brilliant movie. And another favorite of mine is a movie called Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. It's a movie from South Korean filmmakers.
Yes.
It's sort of like a found footage movie, like Blair Witch Project, but it blows Blair Witch Project out of the water. It's about a paranormal group that goes to investigate an asylum and what happens to them there. It's absolutely brilliant. So, The Exorcist and Gonjiam would be my two favorites.
Excellent. Yeah, the Koreans have a touch with horror, actually, the South Koreans. I've really been getting into a lot of their cinematic stuff, and even some of the series on Netflix. Yanni, you like zombies. I think The Kingdom will suit you very well. I think for me, I would like, a modern classic for me is probably The Conjuring, James Wang's The Conjuring. I think it's just a masterclass in horror. It's a classic haunted house film, and nobody dies. It's just a dog. And just the way that it made you feel, I think it's a very artistic piece for me. So I think a modern day horror, that'll be it for me. Okay, so gentlemen, what is your most favorite takeaway? When it's month end, you can have anything you want. What is your preferred takeaway? Yanni?
Burger King.
Burger King. Which meal?
Yep. Anyone. As long as it's Burger King.
That's cool.
What about you, Dave?
I would have to say Roman's Pizza. I really enjoy their pizza.
Roman's Pizza. Okay.
I'll try like two larges and die and be happy.
Well, the next question actually runs in conjunction with that question. What is the worst takeaway food for you guys?
Fish and chips.
Yes, for me, I'm one of those guys. I just like eat anything.
Yeah.
I've had Maponi worms. I've had insects. I've tried crickets and scorpions in Thailand.
Scorpions.
Scorpions taste like knickknacks, funnily enough.
What?
Yeah, they're amazing. They were expensive, so I only had like two. I only tried 2 scorpions, but they're very lacquer, man. They're very lacquer. The crickets as well. The crickets are crunchy. They're very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I honestly can't say that there's something I haven't enjoyed because I just love eating. I love food. Sure, no, I can't say that there's a takeaway that I haven't enjoyed.
I'm also on the fence on that one because any takeaway food is just like it's great to me. But I'm a very big hamburger fan. And the thing that bothers me sometimes is people going to a beef burger restaurant and ordering chicken burgers. That just essentially just disturbs me because why don't you go to KFC then? Why do you come order a chicken burger at Steaks? It baffles me sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'll go for any burger.
One thing that's weird to me, but it's not weird. It's like funny weird. Is people who eat hamburgers with a knife and a fork. It's like, why? It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to drip everywhere. It's that feeling of
yes.
And they eat it with a knife and a fork. I'm like, come on, man. It's disappointing.
Okay, another question is, what is the most... Sorry? Go ahead, Johnny.
No, I couldn't hear the question.
Okay, so the next question is, what is the first thing you pack when you go on an investigation?
Roadblock?
What is the first thing?
Question, sorry.
What is the first thing that you pack when you're going on an investigation? What's the first item that you take with you?
Red Bull.
That's cool. I'm trying to think of mine. Yes, see, the first thing. Yeah, I would say my laptop and the power cable. Yeah, and I make sure that my phone's charged. So laptop, power cable, phone.
Yeah, and
those are like, because without those, you can't really do anything. So yeah, I would say that for me it'd be laptop, power cable, phone. Yeah.
Besides equipment, I would say extra pack of cigarettes and water. I'm a terrible water drinker. I drink very little water, ever. But on investigations, I drink plenty of water for some reason. So water and cigarettes, essential.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I would really like to thank you for your time on this very late afternoon. Really appreciate you guys coming on the show, giving your insights on the specific topic. Guys, if you want to catch us on Spotify, you can go check out Phoenix Paranormal South Africa. Just to go, if you want to break this up into an easier way to consume, just pop in your earphones, have a listen to us talking about the paranormal in South Africa. And we're also available on Facebook and Instagram. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Cheers, Jannie. Thanks, though.
All right. Thanks, julle. Ek waardeer dit.